Good evening. We are going to begin tonight's Human Services meeting for Monday, October 1st, 2018. We have a quorum. Can I have approval of the minute meetings from September 5th, 2018?
Second.
Thank you. Then moving to second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Doreen, we have started left. All right, so we are starting our meeting with HH1. What? Yes. HH1, review of police complaints.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Commander Dennis Leaks, Officer of Professional Standards.
Does anyone have any questions? All right, I have a question. So for the one complaint that we had, sorry, I'm trying to get there. If I remember correctly, this is one in which the officer did not turn on the body camera. Am I correct?
The body camera did not capture the incident, that's correct.
Was the body camera on?
We did a review of the body camera. Camera should have activated when the lights were activated. Apparently, it did not.
Okay. All right, and so that has been remedied for this vehicle or for this camera?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm sorry, it's a lot of pages here. I wasn't quite ready. Thank you, Alderman Braithwaite. All right, I think I have no more questions. My question, so it was a mechanical malfunction, not
It
a
appears
human
it was.
error.
Yes.
Okay, then I'm, I guess, satisfied with that. And then, can you just explain really quick, for those who might not know who are at home watching, what is the process once you put in your complaint, there's been a finding, what kind of notice is given to the citizen at that point?
The citizen that made the complaint,
Yes.
we compose a letter stating the outcome of the investigation, and that it will be heard before this committee, the date and time.
Okay, and is there any language on there about, I'll say, appeal, for lack of a better term, or what they can do if they're not satisfied with the finding?
We just let them know that they're able to speak here if they have something to say concerning the complaint, nothing specifically about an appeal.
Okay. All right, because this just kind of goes with my only concern with these appeals. A lot of them, from when I've been on CPAC, have been about not necessarily a rule, but, personality, language, kind of impression that people are getting from our officers regarding dismissive and so on and so forth. So I will just continue to say that I would hope that that is something that during our officer training and hiring, we are looking for those soft skills that our fine Evanston residents are expecting to hear. I understand people get upset with getting a ticket, and I know that's not the officer's fault, but when we get complaints where there's not a rule violation, but it's more of a tone of voice or attitude, that we are continuing to address that with our officers and helping them understand the standards that we have here at Evanston.
We're continuing roll call training and in-service training to address those issues.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Braithwaite has a question as well.
A response to, and I don't think we've done this since we've installed our new console, Alderman Flame, but maybe once Detective Leeds or maybe DC Pickett would know, we do have the option, so if there's something particular about the case that we have questions, or I think we want to see video footage, maybe once we've gone into executive session to review the specific case, and then we can get more insight from our officers in terms of what happened. And then I think if that's serious, then we would move it to another department. But again, that's only been on one case since I've been on council.
And are you just referencing that in terms of what the citizen can expect, or just in terms of our powers as a committee?
More so the power of the committee.
Yes. And this is one where
That's what I figured. Where you go.
where I would have wanted to see the video just because it was one of those soft interactions, and I understand we didn't have it, so that's fine. So thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Sorry. We are moving on to HH2, Police Issues Work Plan Update.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee, James Pickett, Deputy Chief. field operations, and the only update that we have this month continues to be the crisis intervention training. As of the last time we met, we are now up to 69 officers who have been trained in crisis intervention, with 4 scheduled for training in October and November. And that is the only update I have this month.
Okay, and I remember the chief mentioned last month that we were going to start kind of a new reporting. So is this the end of the reporting?
Yeah, this will be the end of the reporting, and we're going to start reporting on the police dashboard.
Okay, thank you. All right, Chief, are you HH3 or are you continuing with this? Okay.
Madam Chairman. Good evening, Madam Chairman. As we retire the 27-point working plan, I did want to mention that several things will continue from that plan. One is our commitment to crisis intervention training. We know that that is of significant import to the many entities that represent mental health issues in the city, and so that's a continuing commitment that even though the plan is being retired, that will continue. Also included in the plan is the body-worn cameras. We are rolling out the last component of the body-worn cameras. We're in negotiations now with District 65 over an MOU of the wearing of the cameras inside the school. Also, the citizen complaint working group, I believe, will be back to chat with you next month. The last thing that's included in that 27-point work plan is the police dashboard. I'm going to call Commander Glue up to chat about that, to walk you through that, and it is our intent that that system will allow daily transparency. We won't have to wait for a monthly report from the police department on the 27-point working plan. This will be accessible to the citizenry whenever they would like. Commander Glue?
Chief, I have a question actually before you dismiss. Just back to the body cameras. When did we start wearing them, or when did you all start
It
wearing
went
them?
operational a year ago, February.
Okay, is it possible next year after we get through the budget and such, and I realize you won't be here, but you can relay this over, I would be interested to see what our complaints are looking like. So from the year prior to enrolling and then, the year with the cameras, if we've seen a decrease, increase, just kind of what that has translated to for our citizens using our complaint process.
I'll be happy to make that promise for the new chief.
Thank you.
But a thumbnail sketch, I would say, is that it has, one, significantly reduced the amount of time invested by the Office of Professional Standards regarding issues.
Okay.
It really does it. And so once again, we get to the get much more quickly. If there's an allegation of impolite, rude, so on and so forth, we can look at that right now and make that determination, rather than prior to February of this year, it was he said, she said, or he said, he said. And now 99% of the time we have recordings of those events. And also, as was alluded to earlier tonight in Commander Leake's reports, there's periodically technical difficulties. We're working hard to address those. It is my belief that the next generation of body cameras, there will be systems in place that will turn them on automatically, whether it's officer heart rate, the unholstering of a firearm. There'll be other biometric responses that cause the camera to go, and it won't default to, I got to remember to turn my camera on. And so I think that's technologically just over the horizon. But I am in the process of creating a pass-along book for the new chief. I will make sure that this request is included.
Don't our cameras come on now when you pull out your
Taser.
Taser.
When you activate the taser, yes. And that's because the camera and the taser are made by the same company. They're able to integrate that technology. And it's my hope the next step by Axon will be these automatic ons based on officer heart rate, speed of the automobile, the lights being activated would also activate the body camera. So I think all those safeguards will help us not miss critical footage.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I'm here to talk tonight about the police dashboard. The police dashboard, we're looking to probably have up and running, hopefully by the end of the week into next week. There was a police dashboard last year We look to update it, create better visualizations, make it more user-friendly. And I'm going to kind of go over some of that tonight. The present dashboard, the dashboard that's going to be launched shortly, is crafted for the purpose of having transparency, but balancing that against focus of information so it's usable and readable and not confusing. We also like to thank the IT department and Hillary Beata for assisting in this project. Going forward, we would like to have this, the dashboard up and running. We have about 90 days left in the year. We figure about 12 months of having this dashboard up and running and some engagement is going to give us a sample of valuable feedback as to where to take it from there. Early on, we might get some comments saying, we don't like this, we don't like that, we prefer this, prefer that. It is installing a dashboard like this is an undertaking, so having a good sample of insight and information before making adjustments would be helpful and make it more user-friendly. So we'll be up and running soon. Probably have a year's worth of insight and information, 60 to 90 days out from 2020, and then we can make any refinements hopefully by the first of the year.
They're trying to see if there is the old dashboard still available online?
I think the old dashboard is still available, but there's going to be whole new data sets that I'm going to go over here real quick. So
Okay, we're trying to just get a visual for
a
people.
lot of what I'm talking about is probably not going to be up there. So going forward, we have the old data sets. The new data sets will measure CAD events, arrests. One change for this going forward is we want to have stop and frisk information updated on a monthly basis instead of having it just available once a year. That will be something that will be accessible. Guns recovered, Part 1 crimes, compliments received by the Chief's office, complaints being investigated by OPS, use of force, FOIAs filled and received, traffic stops, citations, and crashes. 5 of these data sets, arrests, CAD events, citations, contact card information, police crashes, and stop and frisk is something that we've worked with the vendor Socrata, and they're going to, that will be pulled out of our RMS system, our reporting system, maybe on a daily basis, and that will be updated almost daily. The remaining data sets relative to use of force, compliments, complaints, guns recovered, and FOIAs processed. That is something that IT is working on in-house to upload that onto the dashboard. And we will provide them that information, and they will be able to put it in, and it'll be uploaded. That's an overview of where the dashboard is going from this point forward. Are there any questions? These visualizations that you have here, some of them will change because the visualizations are being changed depending on the information. Some information is better presented in a pie chart. Some are better presented in graphs, and we're going through that now to have the visualizations make sense and be readable. So this is actually, if you go over there, this is actually something that's going to be different for this year. This is consistent, should be consistent with what we're going for right here. Before it would be graphs. This one is in a pie chart, and as you go and go over the different pies, it'll give you the numbers related to that.
All right, I don't have any questions. I'm sure you're going to do this, but I look forward to, a bulletin or whatever you all are going to put out explaining this new system to our residents so that people know now, if they're so inclined, how to keep up with it.
Yes.
And I'll make sure I add it to my newsletter. Thank you. Okay, HH3 Use of Force Annual Report.
Good evening, Commander Leaks here again. Everybody had a copy of the report. Are there any questions?
I have a question, of course. And you could just send this in email. It's probably somewhere I just didn't have a chance to look for it. But can you just list what the use of force it talks about, in bullet number 2, 26 different types of force used in the 24 use of force incidents. So I'm assuming somewhere there's a category list
Sure.
of use of force, if I can just see that, as well as I would be interested in looking at our conducted electrical weapons policy,
Okay.
as that's mentioned twice, and I'm not really familiar what that is. Alderman Ravel?
So just looking at that chart that we have on page 12, and it does give the various categories, could you just tell us what a weaponless impact technique is and a non-impact control technique is?
A weaponless impact technique, it could be like a takedown. When someone's wrestling and you take them down, but you're not using any batons or any mace or anything like that. And the non-impact control technique could be a wrist lock or an arm lock, for instance.
Okay.
All right, thank you. No more questions.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
I wanted to mention several things that expand the use of force. I think the officer professional standards and the review process that has been implemented at the Evanston Police Department is extremely comprehensive, and I think it is encompasses best practices. I think there are new members on the council that I need to convey some information to of a critical nature. If we have an officer involved with death or an officer involved with shooting, there will be other institutions, other entities that will come to investigate those. And I think it's important that you're aware of this. For instance, if we have an officer involved in a shooting tonight, members of the Public Integrity Task Force, which is staffed by the Illinois State Police and the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, will be conducting that investigation. That will not, OPS will have a role. It will review some policy issues, but the issue of whether or not the use of deadly force was appropriate under state law will be reviewed by an outside entity. Now, that is part of a body of laws that was passed about the same time the body-worn camera laws were passed that mandate we use an outside agency to investigate that level of force. Now, traditionally, we have always done that in the city of Evanston, but now by law, that responsibility transfers. And also, too, please understand, that adds a lot of time to these events. And so something that we would consider very straightforward is going to take a much longer timeline before you're able to answer your constituents' questions. And I wanted to take this opportunity to remind everyone of that as long as we're on this topic.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Officer Leaks, I guess I don't need the report. Alderman Ravel pointed out that it's already here, so I'm assuming these things listed here in this category is a totality of our use of force? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, HH4, the gang file audit.
Good evening again, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. You have before you a cover memo from myself and also a memo from Detective Tortorello that outlines our gang file audit. And I would suggest to you two things. One, this ability to audit a rather manageable file in the context of the city of Evanston, it keeps it relevant and accurate. And I think if you look at the percentages of citizens involved, when you compare and contrast the city of Evanston to the city of Chicago, that's a distinct difference. That manageable gang file, and it because we're dealing with a much smaller numbers, and we have a more familiarity with the people on that list. For instance, there was a name removed from the list within the last 10 days. I'm sorry, there was a name removed from the gang database in the last 10 days due to that individual being the victim of a homicide. Additionally, in the two events in the south end of the city, the last one occurring on September 20th and the prior one occurring, I think it was August 18th, our ability to access that file, coupled with other intelligence sources, allows us to apply the overtime resources that have been authorized by the council to the appropriate locations. The ability to discern who's involved allows us to anticipate where the retaliatory shootings would occur, and that's where we focus our resources. And so this is an integral part of what we do in an effort to reduce the violence in the city. Are there any questions I can answer specifically about this gang database?
All right, so I have a couple. Thank you for providing this memo to the committee. Can you just explain when you say there was an audit of 40 hard files? Is that just paper files?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. I was confused. And then my other question, I appreciate that there were no juveniles on our list. That's different than Chicago, so thank you for being mindful of that. And then, is there a way for a citizen, has this ever happened that a citizen can check to see if they're on the list? Or is that not part of what we, I know that was part of what's going on in Chicago, that people
If
discovered
they
they're on
make a
this list.
complaint to OPS, we would, that would be the path that's open right now.
Okay.
If you complain to OPS, we'll look at the complaint and see. And once again, there are leads rules and other controllers that get you onto the gang base. We can't just arbitrarily say you're in or you're out. There are criterion that we have to meet before you're included in any gang base.
Oh, okay. Well, yes, you could. Alderman Braithwaite said you could die and then you would be removed. Yes, that would.
I would suggest other options.
Well, he wanted to know what you said. Can you just tell us or tell the public what LEAD stands for, please?
Law enforcement data system.
Okay, and then my last question is, here you said that there were 26 hard files of subjects entered by other agencies that are being maintained. So can you just kind of clarify what that means? Because I know last month we talked about we can look at the Chicago database, but we don't enter or audit their files.
True, but there are agencies that we will accept gang submissions from. If that agency says we know this, here's this resident, here's who he was involved with, we've identified him as a gang member. If it meets our criteria and the state criteria, we'll include him in our gang database, even though he or she may not have been engaged in whatever that activity was in our town. They have some connection to Evanston, and we would want to know that they're associated with a gang.
Okay. And how is our criteria different than the state?
It pretty much mirrors
same.
it. Other than the juveniles, we don't do that.
Okay. All right. Seeing no further questions, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, our next topic is HH5, the police chief recruitment update, and we have two speakers, Betty Esther and Doreen Price.
So after whoever's getting that report on that, the update. It's not in the package.
Oh, yes, okay. All right. City Manager Bobkowitz.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Just wanted to give you an update. The process continues. Had a good community meeting about 4 weeks ago now. Had input on the job announcement form, so that has been out. In addition, there was a request from the community group that I convene a meeting at Evanston Township High School, so that is scheduled for later this month. We hope to have candidates selected by the end of this month and then have interviews the second week of November. As I think you're all aware, the process that will follow is similar to other department directors that have been hired, where there'll be multiple panel interviews that will occur over a day here at the Civic Center, and then after that, there'll be an opportunity for a selection to be made, hopefully by the end of the year. Mayor Haggerty has asked that I reach out to the Equity and Empowerment Commission for them to prepare some additional information for the candidates that will be interviewed. The Equity and Empowerment Commission entertained that request at their meeting last week, and so they're going to prepare a packet of information. They've also on their own volition, are going to suggest some questions that each of the panels would use, and they've also volunteered members of their panel to be part of the interview panel. So that is all moving forward. We are looking for community members that are interested. I've received probably 10 expressions of interest from community members. We want the community panels to look like Evanston, so we want there to be a nice broad representation. So if individuals are interested in serving on the police chief interview panel, they can send me an email at city manager's office, which is all one word, at cityofevanston.org. And if people could do that by the end of next week, we'll make selections over the next 2 weeks or so, and then again, final date will be selected here soon. So lots of good input. Again, I appreciate the Equity and Empowerment Commissions and Mayor Haggerty's suggestion to reach out to them for some additional information. Be happy to answer any questions.
Alderman Braithwaite?
Have you decided how many citizens are going to serve on the committee?
Well, I think it's a matter of logistics. We will have a peer panel, we'll have an employee panel, and then probably 2 community panels. Each of those community panels will probably be 6 or 7, so probably
12.
in the 13, 14 range. That would be double the number that I have ever had in any department head interview I've ever conducted in all of my years in local government.
Right. This is a little bit different.
So I think that's a good. So that would be, 14 community members, probably 6 or 7 employees, 6 or 7 peers. So, that total, probably almost 28.
And how many aldermen?
30. I'm sorry.
How many aldermen?
The aldermen would come from the part of the community panel. So we could not have any more than 3.
Okay. Has anyone expressed interest?
I'm sorry?
Has anyone expressed interest to you yet?
No, I'm just kind of putting this out. I wanted to come this evening and make the offer. So I think if members of the council are interested, let me know. Let Mayor Haggerty know. We'll certainly be involved in the decision making of who on the council. Again, that's a pretty standard practice.
Sure.
It's usually 2 members of the council or the mayor participate in the department head interviews. So we can do as many as 3 under the open meeting law.
And is all of this information on the website in terms of if people want to apply or suggest their name?
I wanted to come tonight to kind of put that out there. We'll make sure we have a separate website for the recruitment, cityofevanston.org/police chief. And so people can look on that website and get information. And we'll make sure that the specific information regarding if you're interested to be on the panel, I think there's general information, but we'll put the specific email and then a deadline date on that as well. Just looking to make sure that's not there. We have a videotape from the community meeting. We have we took pictures of all of the flip chart pages. That's all on there. The link to the recruitment brochure, but we'll add the piece regarding people interested in being on the panel.
All right, thank you.
I'm going to put my name in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nothing else?
All right, no more questions, thank you. All right, Ms. Betty Esther and Ms. Doreen Price. Can you do my time, please?
Smile.
It's, a disappointment in that, and oddly enough, I looked down at HH6. It's a community-based effort to urge citizens of the community to communicate in a respectful way. And I'm saying, what? And I'm saying, I wrote y'all 3 or 4 letters, sent them to you, dropped them off, had one read at the council meeting. The people that wrote that letter, that took their time to develop that letter, did not get a nod, a yes, or a no from you. No response. That is disrespectful, considering that we put you in office. We still would like to have some community meetings because now he's saying he's going to put out so that people that want to be on the committee can be on the committee. And he got it, his plan is already set to have that meeting come 12th, November the 12th. Which is roughly about 40 days from now, 45 if you count up, that he's going to be doing the interview of the candidate. And now he's going to put up a website so that people can put into what he wanted in everything. Why are we the last to know stuff? He had a meeting that went, he talked about issuing more input from a group. It is staff people, and sorry to say our staff is good, they work hard, but the majority of them do not live here in Evanston. That's like in any community. You sleep one place and you work another one. There's nothing wrong with that. But when we ask to be considered and put in, and we look at communities around the country. You should go and look at people and look at things. We gave you communities where they had did this process before, and they had it, and they did work with their people in their community. But you're not working with us. We ask for information, we don't get it. We say we have to rely on what information someone in the community get, and they feel like it. If they pass it on, we pass it on. But that's not the same as the city passing the information on.
Ms. Esther, I'm going to have to ask you to wrap it up, please.
And it's not what we're about. We are not having, you need to have the community meetings. He talking about we're going to have 10 or 15 people, 14,
Yes,
and
Esther.
no information. Excuse me, I know you want me to pass
I
it
do,
on.
yes. It's 3 minutes.
We have 45 minutes for a community to speak, for public speaking.
We have 3 minutes per
I will take
speaker.
that
We have
tonight.
3 minutes per speaker. That's
I
what we
got
have.
her, Mrs. Doreen will give me her seat, and the other people that wasn't here.
Miss
We need
Esther,
to have you
I
to
don't want to cut you off,
understand.
but we have 3 minutes per speaker. We made a rule that you can no longer cede your time to someone else. It was a conversation we had at the Rules Committee.
That-
I will allow you to finish in the
Did
next
you-
45 seconds.
You did not vote that at the council.
I think we did vote that, but nonetheless, I will give you another 45 seconds, which will bring you to 5 minutes.
So, with the stuff that you have talked about here today and stuff that is not in the community, things that are not here, the audit, the information that is supposed to be on the website about the different things is not up there. We have cards that the police issued to people, and that information is supposed to be public. The only information for that is from 2017, the first 2 quarters. That's all you see up there. And with the numbers that they are showing, it is black people that they are stopping more.
All right, so
And
that
you
is 5
cannot
minutes, Ms.
answer
Esther.
us.
We were here to discuss HH5, which we have noted your concern in terms of more community input. And so I think the city manager relayed tonight.
Thank you. We know now that you do not want any community input
All right, so as
for
the city,
us on
city
that.
manager told us tonight, he came before us first to give us his plan, as his committee, and now that we've approved it, he will update the website so that people have the new information. Alderman Braithwaite?
So, as always, I think, Ms. Esther, when we sit back and listen and filter, we can hear the concern that you bring up. And so I think it's important, not only for you, but for somebody who would watch this meeting at a later date. The information that was gathered at the meeting is on the website, and so I can take the time after the meeting to show you that.
No, I have been through it.
I understand,
Thank
but
you.
I respectfully.
Go ahead.
Just because for someone who is watching, it's important for them to understand that if you go to our City of Evanston website and go to the police chief recruitment, if you put in police chief in the search bar, thank you, Director, you will see the notes that were taken from that community meeting that you attended. There's also a video from that meeting that you attended. And in addition to that, there's a very nice brochure that lays out the information. So I can respect the fact that we may not have everything, but at the same time, it's important for the public to understand that the information that was shared from those that took the time is here on the website. And that's the only point that I wanted to make. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you with that. It is
Thank
on the
you.
website, granted, but it's not up there correctly. He did take copies of the poster that we made, but they was not put in the correct order for the group. So that stuff that was put up there wasn't put up right.
Okay.
So it is misleading, and that's why we need to be talking to people in the community.
Okay,
Not
thank
doing
you.
it on Facebook. That's
So,
not helping.
HH6 is the Duluth Speak Your Piece. The civility, well, I thought that she tried to cede her time, but okay, go ahead. If you would like, she can't cede time, so you have 3 minutes.
Okay, I won't take as long. In terms of the communication part, that is truly an ongoing issue, and I can't emphasize more the severity of the issue. Even when council members are saying that they get short notice on things, if you're from the community, it would be nice if we got 3 days' notice in terms of the city council meetings, and we barely get time with the weekends included to cover the things we need to cover when we show up. So I appreciate the volume of material you people have to do on our behalf as our representatives, but as concerned citizens, it's difficult at best. If you're trying to be very inclusive of people, it would be nice to have a really detailed paragraph of the different items instead of just the agenda and links to the pages, because I went and I looked and I looked and I looked and I couldn't find the police chief recruitment update, and I found out it wasn't there, that Wally was going to present it here. That's another surprise. And so it's not to be it's to be very respectful of the fact that it's a team effort. So the city council and the city manager and the community need to work together better in terms of giving everyone the grace and dignity of the time to respond. I have a personal case where the time to respond, because I'm ill and there's other things that I'm facing, the time to respond is so short, it's adding to extra stress, and we don't need the stress because not everything has to be done tomorrow. And we need to have some latitude in terms of dealing with people, because it's called human services. So the human element has to be there if we're going to be a livable city. And so that kindness thing, I totally support the kindness effort, totally. And I think it should involve the interactions on a daily basis, on whatever we do, on whenever we request, whenever we're coming with a problem. Having more social services, too, would be great, because those conversations don't always happen, and social services are great support for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, HH6, the Duluth Speak Your Piece. I believe this was yours, Alderman Fisk.
Thank you for allowing this to be on the agenda. So I've mentioned this a few times, and I have asked our staff to put a little bit of the information about the Duluth Civility Project in the packet for us to take a look at. I don't expect anyone for us to take action on this, but I do think it's a really important thing for us to be aware that how we communicate with one another is really important. Now, that said, there are some rules that we follow as a city council, and one of the rules is that the notice that we're given 48 hours prior to a meeting is when the agendas come out, and we have to respond to those, and the public has to understand that there are some things that are immovable about that. But that said, I think expanding our communication with our community is always really important, and I think we've all seen a change, both within our community and certainly in Washington, about how we communicate with one another on the important issues that we have to deal with in our city. And I've been concerned about what we hear at the microphone and how we respond from the dais, and how I know my colleagues well, and I know how well-intentioned everyone is. I know how difficult it also is when everyone feels either that they're not being listened to or they're under pressure. And this is what happened in Duluth. So in Duluth, it was really an economic downturn that created the concern about how folks in the community were communicating with one another. And that happened 10 years ago. And over the 10 years, as they worked through how to improve public civility, it worked. And it may not always work, but it set some standards. It set some ideas that how can we active listen to each other, and so that we're able to exchange ideas without being negative. So how can we positively work together on the problems that face our community? I think it's important to talk about this. We talked about it at my ward meeting, and you know how ward meetings go. You get up and you present all the things, and staff is there, and police reports, and all of this. And what I found in my ward meeting was that we had several members of the community, including Father Oldershaw and Joey Roger, who is one of the police chaplains, a couple of other folks, someone from the League of Women Voters, and Pat Effiam was there. And I was just blown away with what a positive response we got from the folks that were there. We came down and we sat, instead of sitting up here on a dais, we came down and sat with them, and we listened to what folks had to say. And I saw that there was a real hunger in the community for this kind of interaction. And I felt very good about it. I mean, it was a kumbaya moment. And we don't have a whole lot of those in the work that we do. So I think it's worth pursuing. I think it's worth thinking about. Again, we've included this here. I hope all of you will take a little bit of time in a calm moment just to kind of reflect and read what happened in Duluth, because even though we may not, we would have to reach out, I don't know, to the Evanston Community Foundation and a lot of other organizations within town to really make this work, including the school boards. It's something worth thinking about, because I do think that we've reached a point where, and I think we saw it here tonight to some degree, where our residents are really questioning all sorts of motivations. And I sit up here and I go, I know everyone is well-intentioned. I certainly feel I'm well-intentioned, and all of you I know are, and I know the people in the audience are. But somehow that's not getting communicated. So I hope that we can take a little bit more time to really be thinking about this, thinking about what we can do. Look at the Duluth model. It may not be perfect for Evanston, but it's a start. And so thanks for staff for putting that on. Thanks to all of you for listening to me prattle on about this. But I hope we can follow up. Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. Yes, I think it's a work in progress, and it probably takes some work on both sides, as you said, for us to get there. I think just coming to it, thinking everyone is doing their best and means well on both sides is probably important. All right, so do we have any items for communication?
Just a quick announcement. I'm really excited about the work that our Alternatives to Arrest Committee is doing. So hopefully in the next 2 committee meetings we will bring an update. And so I would also be curious to time that with the work that's being done with the Citizen Review Committee as well.
All right, and I think Deputy City Attorney, can you comment, is that coming before us next month, the review committee report?
For the alternatives to...
No, the Citizens Complaint Review Committee, are they bringing their report next month?
I'm not aware. I'm not the attorney that's
Sorry.
asked that committee, but I can definitely follow up and
Okay,
provide you with
all
an
right,
update.
thank you. All right, so Alderman Braithwaite, we can, yes.
Time 'em.
Next month, okay. So depending on how long their report is, we want to give them enough time so we can either just do a quick update of yours or add it another time. Okay,
That'll be
thank
fine
you.
for us. Thank you.
No more items for communication? All right, so I move that we adjourn this meeting. Second, all in favor? All right, perfect. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.